ideas on why these shoes tend to be, I mean, they're better than even being barefoot and using boots, right?
I think so. But, you know, it's just such a forgiving shoe. I think the foot just kind of relaxes. You know, if a foot naturally wants to be drawn up and contracted, these shoes just have a way of just letting the foot relax and it just spreads. They all, you know, when I'll start with a 0 or a 1 and it'll go to a 1 or a 2 in a shoeing cycle or 2, and it's, you know, it's amazing. I mean, even more than barefoot. You know, we always think that like barefoot, if you take a horse that's shod, you know, if you pull the shoes off, it'll spread, and it does.
Right.
But it's marked in with these easy cares, the foot just goes. Whoosh. I mean, so much so that you got to like watch after you've had them in a couple times. The sensitive tissue like moves a little bit.
Right.
And you know the foot. You know I think a foot when it expands, the sensitive structure does it first. It goes whoosh, out like this, and then the hoof structure, which is more rigid, has to catch up. So for a while, I think you have like half as much margin of error as far as like where you put your nails.
So you get a hot nail more often.
I've never had a hot nail. But it's, you know, I've had to pull it because the horse is like uncomfortable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like closer.
Pressure.
It's, yeah, pressure.
Yeah.
And so you got to watch out for that because the hoof itself is just, you know, it's like getting bigger inside your own coat. You know, the coat didn't get any bigger, but then the whole foot just, then the next time, the subsequent time they come around, the hoof, the whole thing's bigger and everything's back the way it should be. You just have a bigger foot.
Right.
So that's fine. This much longer and this much narrower. Over time, I hope that the hind end spreads out a little bit and the foot becomes a little more symmetrical.
Right.
It's got some central sulcus. It's not really thrushy, it's just tight. I don't think it's diseased, but it's something to keep an eye on anyway.
So having some good hoof protection on this foot might help that open up a little bit more so that
Yeah, exactly. Since this foot's been barefoot, it's certainly not spread any.
Right.
So now, my prediction is going to be that we'll put the plastic shoe on there, and next time we come back, the narrower part of the foot will be out a little bit.
Right.
Is what I hope.
And that's what you found in other clients that you put these shoes on?
Oh yeah, just probably 90% of them. You know, if they've got like, say on the ground surface, your heel structure is narrower than where your first nail hole would be. These shoes, like they go out to where it's like a nice fuller foot, and the frog underneath it is happier, fuller, doing a better job of concussion reduction. So it like I said, it seems like the Easy Care shoe does a better job with the, you know, natural spreading of a horse's foot than even barefoot, which we usually consider to be the most natural. But
right.
You know,
how long have you been using these shoes?
It's like 2 years now. And I've got like 25, 30 horses in them, like all over, you know, 3-4 counties for all kinds of different pathologies. There's horses that are working that were like semi-retired and went back to hunter jumpers and happy doing it, you know, after we put a ton of other stuff on them, all kinds of pads and shoes and whatnot, you know, it's the concussion reduction. You know, the whole shoe is just so concussion reduction. If you have arthritic condition, I haven't found anything better myself, but I don't know everything. You know, it's like I always say, I'm 80% sure of everything I say, but there's always that 20% out there that doesn't count, you know? So,
right.
But yeah, I've been tickled with them.
This is Khaleesi's foot.
Yep.
So since she's been coming to you in composite shoes, what changes have happened in her foot?
Oh, her foot used to be a lot tighter in the heels here, and this central sulcus is nice, and kind of, you see it's kind of opened up like this. It used to be really tight like that together. This foot, I mean, our heel structures are back here, like right up here would be where your first nail holes are, and your heel structures, the buttress where the bars come in and meet the exterior wall coming around here, the buttress of the heels are right behind the first nail hole. So it's just spread out nice, and this frog looks a lot healthier in the time that I've known her.
So, what benefits do these shoes have for people who are trying to do endurance riding? Specifically.
Concussion reduction. You know, because it's nothing but pounding. You know, it's miles and miles of just pounding, and endurance riders, a lot of times the terrain is uneven at best, but it's,
Sorry.
a lot of times it's hard packed dirt or hard packed grit or even gravel roads, and these shoes are they're really protective because it's a big wide piece of material, but the concussion reducing properties of these shoes are just phenomenal. So.
Which is what the metal shoe would have a drawback of. It'll protect the hoof, but it won't generally give as much concussion protection.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, steel shoes really, I mean, we've been protecting feet with something for, hundreds of years. But, a steel shoe doesn't really reduce concussion. I mean, it's nowhere near as concussion reducing as these composite shoes. So for endurance, that's the main thing you're looking for is your shock reduction.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, this is just grinding off sometimes if you have, like, her feet are kind of narrow, so I marked where it's just too full. I can't eyeball it.
Right.
So I just put a mark with the Sharpie down the foot, and then I just grind that much off.
And so that's how you would work on sizing if it's in between shoes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on the grinder.
You hot shoe and you shape shoes on the anvil, you set your clips because your walls are like that, and so you set your clips and then you burn your clips to match the angle of that wall. Well, these clips are spring steel, so they're really hard. So you obviously can't heat them up, and you can't just set the shoe on the foot and bash it in with your hammer. That's too much trauma on the foot. So what I do is I set the clips a little bit on my anvil horn, thin them a little bit on the grinder so they blend in nice, and then notch the foot just a little bit for somewhere for that clip to sit because you're putting the shoe on there cold, and it just makes a nice little spot right there. It's there's a little bit of a gap right there because it's not exact. It's not like as good as burning in a clip, but it's it fits better than just having a clip going sticking out like this, cutting off dandelions everywhere you go. Well, the groove is a little deeper than the height of the nail, so you gotta set the nail head down into the shoe. So this is just a piece of bar stock with a little parrot beak on it and a mouth there to get down on the nail, and then you just whack it a couple of times and that sets the nail down in the shoe. Takes 5 minutes to build that. It's not much.
Okay. Do you need any special equipment to remove these?
Well, the one thing I'll say is that whatever model of crease nail pullers you use, you just need to be sure that they are tapered enough to reach down in the shoe, a little pointer at the tip like this to reach down in the shoe and pull out the head of the nail. Ones that are blunter just don't reach it down in there as well. So mostly I'd say that they probably have fooled with composite or rubber or plastic shoes before, and they've not done well.
Right.
So they're just like in that category. That's not really going to work. I've used steel or aluminum reliably for 25 years. I'm not really interested in a newfangled thing that comes along, because there's always a whole thing. You want to be, brilliant in the fundamentals, stay strong in the basics, and that usually carries you through. But I think that's probably the biggest thing is guys have probably, seen them, used them, worked with them before, and they failed.
So what makes these different than the ones that have failed in the past?
They're just made better. Than the ones I don't remember all the names of ones and whatever. I mean, there've been plastic ones you've had to like screw heart bar plates together with little tiny screws, and they all fall apart over a period of a couple of weeks, and or they just seem like a flip-flop. I mean, these shoes are rigid enough to be supportive enough for the horse with that spring steel insert, plus with the concussion reducing properties of the the material that encases the spring steel, you know, it's just a brilliant combination, you know. So I think they're just engineered and made better.
So she's looking pretty happy with this process. Like, she's relaxed and she's licking and chewing. I think she's gonna like these shoes.
I've got. Sure.